Okay, so there are three components in this. Okay, working directory, staging area, and Git repository. We call it as. Okay, so this working area is basically where we create our files and folders in locally. Suppose when you create your script locally, that is your working directory, right? Your present working directory, right? So that we call it as work directory. Okay, so there are some set of commands. Okay, there are some set of commands in Git. I mean, there are a lot of commands and lot of concepts. Okay, before moving it to, you need to understand this architecture, the simple architecture for Git. Okay, so let's say this work directory, or we also call it as workspace. Workspace in the sense where the developers or any resource can create a file locally or the code locally, that we call it as work directory. Okay, so when we want to run git add command, file will move from workspace to staging area. Okay, so let's say when you create a file here. Okay, after, let's say you created touch file 1, that file, the task we call it as work directory. Okay, so soon after creating that, so when we run git add. Okay, git add, there is a command in git. So when we run git add, the files or changes will move from work directory to the staging area. Okay, so this staging area is basically the intermediate area where we save files or changes before commit to the git repository. Okay, so before committing it to the git repository, so staging area is basically the intermediate area between the work directory and the working directory and the git directory or the git repository. Okay, so here we save, this area is, we will save the files and or changes before commit to git repository. Okay, so soon after run git add or git commit. So when we run the command called git commit -m followed by the message, the changes will move from staging area to the git repository. See here you can see the command called git commit, right? So how the flow works. So when you create a file, the files and changes will be in a working directory. Okay, so when you run git add, the file will move from working directory to the staging area, and here the changes and files and directories are present. So once you do git commit, the changes will move to the git repository. Okay, this is how the flow works in git. Okay, remember this: working directory, staging area, and the git repository. There are three components. Okay, now let's see how it works. Okay, so to work on git, no need to log in server. You can directly work all the git commands, git concepts in git bash itself. Okay, suppose if you want to configure cron tab, you will have definitely will have to run to log into the server. Okay, now what I will do, I will create one file. Okay, so let's say I will create one folder, mkdir git I will create. Okay, I'll move cd. Is my screen visible to everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I am creating one folder called git. Okay, to initialize the git, I'll use git init. Okay, so git init is basically to initialize the git repository. See, you should see when you run ls, when you run ls or ls-a. ls-a is basically to list the hidden folder. Okay, so you should basically see .git when you run ls-a. But when I run before running git init, are we able to see .git? Means we are initializing a git in git bash. So where you see .git only, you will be in, you will be able to work on the git repository, or you will be able to work on the git. Okay, clear? I'll give the, okay, so basically I'll give a definition. Git so that you will not be in a confusion. Okay, so Git, as I told, Git is basically the version control tool, okay, used to keep track out of versions of files and directories. Okay, Git is a version version control tool used to keep track out of versions of files and directories. Okay, track out of files and directories. Okay, so let's explore how this Git will keep the tracking of files and directories, and how it works in all the files when we create. Okay, now let's, according to this architecture, so as I told, there are three areas, there are three components: working directory, staging area, and the Git repository. Okay, so let's explain the working directory. So where I create, so as I told, where we create our files and folders, that area, or where we develop our code, that area we call it as workspace or the working directory. Okay, so let's keep the definition for the work directory. Okay, Git architecture. See, for each and every tool will be having their own architecture that you need to understand. Okay, there are three component. Are you guys with me? So
Yes.
working directory, the first component is working directory, and the second component is staging area. Okay, working directory, staging area, and the third component is Git repository. Okay, Git
So
repository.
staging spellings.
Okay, okay, staging area. Okay, now let's discuss on the working directory. Okay, so this working directory is basically, so as I told, so when we create a new file, they are in local workspace. Okay, so when we create a new file, they are in local workspace. Okay, so when we run git add command, git add command, files will move from the files will move from workspace to staging area. Okay, so this we call it as working directory. Okay, now let's create a file here. So I have created one folder. Inside this git folder, I'm going to create touch file 1. Okay, so this is my newly created file. So where you are running touch file 1, this we call it as our working directory. That is our working directory. Okay, so how do we check the status, whether it is in git repository or it is in where? We'll have to run git status is the command. So what it is saying, untracked files, the newly create, nothing to add, or nothing added to commit but untracked file present. So okay, so what I just created a new file, which means this is in the working directory. I didn't even added git add to move into the staging area. So wherever you are highlighting it red, it is in the workspace itself. Okay, so when you create a newly file in the workspace, it will be in the working directory. Okay, according to this statement, when we create a new file, they are in a local workspace. Okay, so when we run the git add command, okay, I will show how to run. Okay, so when we run the git add command, the files will move from workspace to staging area. So git add command run ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಫೈಲ್ ಏನು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂಡರ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಲಿ, ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಮೂವ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೇಜಿಂಗ್ ಏರಿಯಾ. Okay, how it moves? When we do git add dot, what is dot represents? The present working directory. The present working directory in the sense it is in the present git repository. Okay, so when I run git add dot, okay, I'll just hit enter. Okay, again I'm going to check the git status. Now it turned from red to green. That means that means the file that I created in the working directory, when I run git add command, the file will move from git directory to the staging area. Now our file is in staging area. How do we conclude that? Here you can see changes to be committed. The changes are not even moved to the git repository to be committed. Okay, changes to be committed, still it is in the staging area. Means, what is the definition for staging area? So as I told, staging. Okay, so this staging area is basically, it is an intermediate area. It is an intermediate area, so where we save files or changes, where we save files and changes before commit to the git repository. Before commit to the git repository. Okay, so before committing it to the git repository, so here we save files or changes before committing it to the git repository. Okay, now our file is in the staging area. Okay, so how do we conclude that? So here we can see, when you do check the git status, the changes to be committed means the changes is in the staging area itself. Okay, how do we commit to the git repository? So now, how to move this from staging area to the git repository, that is a definition. So once we move git commit -m, m stands for message, creating new file. When you run this git commit command, -m, -m represents the message. Within a double quote, we need to provide a message. Okay, so when you run this command, the changes or files will move from staging area to the git repository. In the thirds, it will get committed to the git repository. Okay, that is the reason we wanted to run here git commit -m, creating new file. So you can give any message according to your requirement. Okay, either if you implement any feature, you say that implemented gesture feature, or implemented the feature 1, implemented feature 2, or implemented any feature that you implemented, that you can add it as a message. This is how we track in git. Okay, I'm gonna run this now. You will see here, when you run git commit -m, so you will see the message saying creating a new file, one file changed, and there are no insertions, with a file permission of 644. Okay, Now when we do git check the git status, because nothing to commit, working directory clean. So earlier when we check before running git commit command, the changes were to be committed. Now the changes are the changes were in staging area, correct? Now when we run the git commit -m command, that moved from staging area to the git repository. Simple. Okay. Now what I will do, all three flow, I'll do it in a single shot. Okay. So now you can able to understand this. Okay. So before moving into that, I'll give a definition for git repository. Okay. So what is this repository here? So once, okay, so this is the area where we commit the changes into the git repository. Okay, so when we run git commit command, the changes will move from staging area to the git repository area. Okay, so to run this, we add git commit -m followed by message. Okay, and here to move from staging area to the git repository, we use, okay, not an example, it's a command git add dot. Okay, and it's a command. Okay, clear? Now we do create a file. So when we're creating a file, it will be in the working directory. So once we create a file, we do check the status, and if the status is still highlighting red, that will be in the staging area. So when we do git add, the changes will move from staging area, from the workspace to the staging area. Now once we do git commit -m in the same changes for same file, so the changes from staging area to the git repository, the changes will move from staging area to the git repository. That's how the flow works according to this architecture. Okay, so working directory where we create files and folders. Okay, the staging area, the intermediate area where we save our files and folders in the git itself. So once we do git add, the changes will move from working directory to the staging area, and at last there will be an git repository. So this git repository is used to commit the changes. So when we do git commit -m, so when we run a git commit command, the changes will move from staging area to the git repository. Clear? ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, now what I will do, I will create one more file. Okay, now I have created only one file, right? Let's create touch file 2. Okay, so now touch file 2 is in the work directory, right? If I do check the git status, it is saying in a red highlighted file 2, it is in workspace, work directory, right? How do we move this to the staging area? If I do git add dot, or you can do git add file 2, you can directly add this file 2 this way. Okay, so if I run this, if I do this check git status, this will move from workspace to staging area. It is turned from red to green, right? Is it turned from red to green?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now this moved from work directory to the staging area. Now it is in staging area. How do we move this to the staging area to the work, Git repository? So we do run git commit -m followed by the message file 2 is created. Correct? So are we getting this? Now if I do check the git status, we should not be able to see because this is moved to the git repository. It's already in the git repository. This is what the final stage that we do before pushing it to the remote. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Clear for everybody? Okay. Now,
Yes.
okay. Now I have ran multiple commands here. Okay, git add, okay, git commit, and init, and there are set of commands I have ran, right? So I will give all set of commands. You can follow the same. Okay. So the very first I'll go with git add. So what is this git add? How it works? So adding the files to a staging area. Okay, git add is basically adding the files to the staging area. It move the files from workspace or workstage to the staging area. Okay, so that is the reason we will run git add, adding the file to a staging area. Okay, so it move the files from work work directory. Okay, work directory to staging area. I'll make it down. Work directory to staging area. So here version of files, here version of files will not be tracked. Okay, so here the version of files will not be tracked. Okay, so how do we add this command? Git add dot or git add followed by file name. You can also pass file name. Okay, dot represents the present work directory, and suppose if you have a specific file name, you can also point the file name directly. Present directory. Okay, clear with this git add? Guys, I'm asking you.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
now I have used git status, correct? So what does this git status represents? So it will show files are in local directory or staging area or in the git repository. So it will check the git status. Either the files are in local directory, sorry, local repository, or is in the staging area or in the git repository. Okay, that's what it is done by git status. Okay, so it will show files are in files files are in local repository or staging area or in git repository. So it will show basically where the file changes, or where it checks whether the files are changes are in local repository. Local means workspace, local means working directory. Okay, I'll give this working directory. Files are in working directory. Okay, Okay, whether the files are in working directory or staging area or in the Git repository. That's what the status it will check. Okay, and the command git status. Okay, so as soon as you check this git status, you will see the status of your files or folder you created, and it will show all the status, whether the files are is in your working directory or in your staging area or the git repository. Okay, and I have ran git commit command as well, right? So what is this git commit? Okay, so this is the command, okay, where we commit our files from staging area to the git repository. So it is a command move the files from staging area to, okay, git repository, and committing it to the committing it committing all the files and folders into the git repository. Okay, the where we move files or folders or directory from staging area to the git repository. Okay, so when we use git commit -m, a command, so the changes will move from staging area to the git repository and committing all the files and folders into the git repository by using git commit command. Okay, and the command here is git commit -m message. Okay, M stands for message. Okay, clear with this, everybody? So what you need to do, okay,
Sir, get in it.
git, yes, git init, I will give that. Git init. Git init is basically, it helps us to initialize the git repository. So it is a command, so it will help us to initialize a empty git repository. Git repository. Okay, where we check the .git present in the same folder. Okay, so the command git init, that's it. So whatever the folder that you create, either any folder with respect to all the folder that you created, you should be initialize the git repository. Okay, suppose if I go out from this git repository, suppose when I create make directory one more, okay, oh, sorry, make directory prod I will create. Okay, so if I do cd to prod, okay, so I moved this to prod directory, right? If I run ls-a, the git will not be present here. Why? Because I'll have to initialize it. So where I initialized, I have initialized .git in the git repository in the git folder. Now I'm in other folder. How do I initialize? Do git init, that's it. So it will initialize the empty git repository under this, okay, where you see when you run ls-a, you should be able to see .git. So before running git init, are we able to see .git? No, right? Now you can run all the git commands, like whatever you do git. You can create a file, you can do add, commit, and check the status. Okay, clear? So I will give you the flow here. So create a folder. Okay, soon after creating a folder, do cd to folder, right? And do git init. Okay, and then check ls-a should see .git. Okay, and soon after that create a file, check status, check git status. Okay, and then after checking, okay, so after checking, okay, you created a file here and check the status. So after checking, so it will reflect as run git add followed by file name. Then this will move to the work directory to the staging area. Then after running git add, do git commit -m and the message in double quotes. So when you do, then check the git status. To check the git status, so your changes are committed to the git repository. Changes are committed to git repository. Okay, so this is what the flow you need to follow. Create a folder, do cd to it, do git init, and ls-a should be able to see .git. Then create a file and check git status. You should be able to see in a red highlighted. Then do git add. That is move. That will, when you do git add, that will move from work directory to the staging area. And once you add, do git commit. After running git commit -m command followed by the message, the changes will move from staging area to the git repository. And now when you do check again git status, you should be able to see the changes will get up to dated with your git repository. Clear? Flow. Okay. So anybody has any questions and any doubts, I will share this architecture and also this notes, today's notes with all three component explained, and then git and set of commands, git status, git commit, git init. And are there any commands that we missed here? Hello.
No, sir.
Okay. So I'll give, okay, let you guys complete the assignment on scripting. I'll give one git later. So everybody working on assignment, you will have to submit by today EOD.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Git configuration from browser.
Configuration.
Git configuration for login purpose to Git home to repository login.
No, no, no. That we will do it later, but you can run in local only. You use git bash. Okay. There is no configuration required. Directly open git bash, create one folder, do git init. That's it. Your .git will be initialized. Run your all git commands. Suppose when you want to run in the server, you need to log in to the server and install the git. That's it. Okay. Let's see how do we install. I will show it in the server instances. I'll have to start an instance. Just a minute. Sorry, I was speaking on mute. So I'm just initializing the. Uh, I'm just logging into the server. The credentials are here. Email followed by the password is this. Okay, captcha WTX4. So to work on Git, no need to log in into server. Okay, but whenever we need on Linux configuration, so we'll have to work in the server itself. Okay, able to see my screen? I'm logging in. Okay, I think I'm on another screen. Okay, let's start for now. You guys are able to see my AWS account
Yes, sir.
instance state. I'm just starting it. Start an instance. So let's log into this. Copy this and go to downloads. Open git bash here directly. And there are multiple git bash. You close this. Keep only on this. Okay. ssh-i linux spam followed by ubuntu at the rate of public ip. Yes, I want to continue. Okay, so now I have logged in into the git server. File1.txt, file2.txt, file3.txt, file4.txt, file5.txt. Okay, I have deleted it. Okay, now let's check the git version. Git hyphen version. Git version, okay, 2.43.0. Okay, so git is already installed. Okay, now let's check. So to install it again, use sudo apt install git hyphen y, that you want to install it in the server. Okay, so it is already saying reading package list, dependencies and everything is set. And if you run git version again, so it is installed with 2.43.0 only, the the git version. Okay, so just you run sudo apt install git hyphen y or sudo apt install git. Suppose if you want to update it, use sudo apt update. So it will get up to date with all cron or git, everything. Clear? So this you configure in server. And how do we do it in server? Create one folder mkdir followed by dev. Okay, so I have created the folder called dev. I'll do cd to dev. Okay, if I run ls-a, there is no .git, right? So how to initialize the git repository? How to initialize the git repository?
Getting
Git
it.
init.
Git init, right? When you initialize the git init, you will be able to see .git. Now you can create a file, ls touch file1, let's say file1. So you created it. When you do git status, so it is in the red highlighted, means the changes are in the workspace. Okay, how do we move this from workspace to staging area? We do git add followed by what? File1, right? File 1 only we created. And oh, file 1, git add file 1. Okay, now when I do check the status, now it is turned from red to green. Now the changes from work directly to the staging area. How do we move this from staging area to the git repository? We do run git commit -m created file 1. Correct. Now if you do check git status, it should not show, I mean, it should show like nothing to commit. Now the changes are in the git repository. Okay, let's learn in further session how do we check that repository which is getting added into the git repository. Clear with this activity?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is in the server. Clear with this? Who has asked this in the server? Vishnu.
Yes, sir.
Vishnu,
Yes, sir.
clear, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
not only Vishnu, clear with this, everybody?
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Any doubts and any questions? If no doubt, let's wind up the session. Let's connect tomorrow. Sorry, evening for Q&A. And tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock for regular sessions. Okay. Let's learn
Okay, sir.
Git.
Okay.
Share this in the group. Work on this and work today only. For practice all the commands today only. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank